Caroline, can I just ask you, we're seeing open go through all aspects of this industry now. And there are organizations that are starting projects from the Open RAN, Open Cellular, you name it. Is this a natural evolution of the network to explore, to experiment, to see what works, what doesn't work? Do we generally believe that we can take the philosophies of open and extend them all the way across the value of the network?
So I just put in a pitch, and I am on the board of TIP. That's one thing that if you look at when we started it, we say, okay, if Facebook was one of the founders along with Deutsche Telekom, Nokia, and us, for example, when we looked at it, we said, then if the web scale company can take something like OCP and make bundle some money on it, significant margin growth. Look at their stock price compared with, say, AT&T stock price. I mean, there's a dramatic difference. What can we learn from it? So I think some of the truth, probably somewhere in between. There's money that Ericsson, Nokia can make. You bring a lot of expertise into this area, the system integration side. At the same time, when you look at for 5G. Intel has been involved in a lot of trials and proof of concept. When we go to the enterprise, when we sit down talking with the CIO, the guys are not coming from the telco background, they expect a white box. They don't expect a black box. True, they want us to perform a certain SLA and carry grade, but giving them something that's black box is very difficult for them to accept. So we start looking at, in TIP, we start looking at what is it that in the web scale side we can learn and take what's appropriate into this. We do a lot of, there's a trial and error, right? There's a fail fast kind of thing. So in fact, I have this slide that I've been using to present to different advisory board about what have we learned in this whole edge compute, a passion and a job of mine. And we are about to present that again to the 5G Americas. There's certain things we learn is that the enterprise is absolutely the decision maker in this case, because they pay the bill. They pay the bill. They want certain things to be done, and we and the telco CSPs have to come in and deliver and fulfill. So that's something now we start talking with the cloud guys and learn. Learn from them, and what is it that their best known methods that we can borrow and use in our world and be profitable at the same time do what Jason is saying, right? Not to just say, here's a backup parts and go at it, have fun.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that the CSPs are struggling with the business model because it's all based on capacity upgrades, and that's a tough one. Mm-hmm. That's why it's going to be staggered. But the new revenue business model is really being driven by the customers. Yeah. The enterprise and the business are driving it. And it's really interesting I was at an event with the CTO of Etsy, and he was very clear about the standard situation where for 2G, 3G, and even 4G, the verticals would come in and say, can you do this, can you do that? And we said, no, we're focusing on this market. And with 5G, they said, well, actually, let's listen to everybody, and let's make the standard malleable. And that's what's coming with the second generation, second family, the ultra-reliable low latency next year is designed to handle all of those needs. And the big objective is to have a multitasking network.
Correct.
Which can give an SLA for many types of customers. And what I was saying earlier about the merge of digital infrastructure with physical infrastructure, the digitization of physical infrastructure and network infrastructure and IT infrastructure, is that it increases the possibility to have latent capacity, whether it's processing, whether it's radio, whether it's transport. The more you have latent capacity, the more you can cut it up and sell it, which is what AWS does. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way to make money. So that's why it's such a big business opportunity for everybody to be open, because the more open you are, the more you have the latent capacity, and the more you can sell.
In fact, the story that you just shared at our prep session about Ethernet and AWS, that's actually quite it's a blessing and alarming to me. Actually, if you...
So this is news that came out of MWC Americas
at noon today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not here, unfortunately, but Ethernet is one of the TIAC startups.
Using Intel?
Using Intel, really?
Of course.
Surprise. But basically, they showed a demo at 12 o'clock. They launched a service, actually, a new web service from Amazon, which uses their virtualized EPC. And basically, they've ported that onto the AWS cloud. And this will be commercially available within weeks, I believe. And they showed the demo pretty much. Their focus there was on IoT market, so industrial IoT, where a lot of companies, they don't have the spectrum, they don't want to, they don't really know how to engage with that ecosystem and still be compatible with standards. So they use CBRS spectrum, so the lightly licensed. And they ported all the complexity of the management of the IoT devices onto either the edge or the cloud. So they had an edge device where you can run it from there. And pretty much you can, soon, like the other 18 or so web services they have, they will now be selling network functions as another AWS service where you just click on it. You can download, you can decide whether you want it all run from the cloud, control and user plane, or have the user plane run from the edge. And this is, in a way, as you say, scary as hell.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really exciting because this is what operators should be doing now in partnership with the cloud players. And Google have been doing something similar, to be honest. I mean, they've been doing lots of stuff on the EPC as well. But basically, the operators need to get involved in that, show the value that they have, because the edge, your favorite word, apart from blockchain, the edge was our world. It was the RAN world. It was the operator's world. We were close to the customers, and for years I was saying...
you have all the location. You have all the location. You have all the cell towers.
Just on this and open, right? Just I have to pick this up, right? So you mentioned open like Amazon Web Services. Amazon Web Services is not open. They have a platform, a very robust platform. You say, if you want to interact with our platform, this is what you use.
I didn't say they were open. I said they're the threat.
Yeah, well, they're the threat, absolutely.
They're the threat. If you don't open up and you don't actually...
But that's a different open up. That's where you expose your assets. So maybe what the CSPs have to do, and I think this is what we're kind of coming to the conclusion on, is it's not that we worry about interconnecting the components, but we expose a platform and say, if you want to exploit our 5G network for this business case, this is how you interact with us, and become expert in that exposure layer, or that service exposure up, and let the experts potentially, autonomous vehicles, do their expertise, or whatever the next 5G case is.
Yeah, but the choice will be there. I mean, an industrial IoT concern will have the choice of buying the service off AWS using CBRS spectrum and buying some edge servers locally, running it themselves if they want to. Or they could go to CSPs and probably have an existing engagement with a large CSP and say, what can you give me on top? And the CSP needs to position themselves there saying, we give you the experience of managing this as an end-to-end service, we give you the security, we give you integration with the network. So the stick is coming out, the carrot is taking time, the stick is coming out quickly. So the CSPs, I think, who don't see that will struggle. So they do need to get into that market, and some are doing that.
What's happening today? I mean, Klaus, what are you seeing from telco customers in terms of what they're needing, what they're looking for in their networks? If we're hearing all this of what's coming up and where they need to be, what are they doing today?
Well, again, I don't have the broad view that you see from a CSP perspective or from a net perspective, but in looking at the IT infrastructure that support those networks, our customers are looking, the CSP customers, for the openness that will allow them to have a choice of vendors, and then for companies like HP to help drive the standards that will help them open up the network. We're moving from virtualization in the sense of virtual machines to a service-centric 5G network where it's all about microservices and containers, and that's a very different world. And they're looking to the roadmap that will enable that innovation to come in, even if it's not all ready today. And I think that's the big challenge. We are not about the world of 4G where we define the network, now we go build it. We need to start building a network that's going to carry 5 times the traffic that is carried today, and it's going to be completely different 5 years from now from where it is today. So it's that uncertainty and how to harness the innovation that will come along.
Was the industry's early planning slightly misguided? I mean, we spent so long looking at NFV as a key fundamental drive and building block, if you like, of 5G, and yet now we're hearing that NFV may not be the answer.
Well, I don't think it was misguided. It's just the way we tended to view NFV as a technology thing. Now, what it really brought to the industry was a disaggregation of the business model, so that again, we have a model where companies like Hewlett-Packard Enterprise can make better computers, Red Hat can create better operating systems, and vendors like Ericsson can build better applications on top. But the innovation of those layers become independent and therefore faster, and there's competition in each layer, so it brings efficiencies in. And so I don't think NFV was a mistake in that sense, but it was a first step in a world now where it's no longer about OpenStack. right? It's the whole, we look at the operating environment. That is changing. It's no longer about just a processor picking packets off a standard NIC. There's all the different acceleration coming in for analytics and AI that will happen on the edge. That has to be absorbed in.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah.
But without NFV, we will never be where we are today, right? I mean, this might not be the end game, but this is actually what enable us. Like, if you, for example, I just picked up what Jason said. How do we ensure that the CSPs actually monetize? So we actually, the Intel team that I'm part of, actually put out this SDK, software development kit, a library function, where we want to expose the network telemetries upwards. Have an API, both COPS compliant and SCMAC compliant, expose that upwards, so then someone like Telecom can't monetize because you ultimately own the network resources, but we expose that northbound and we allow different cloud API to plug in, but not taking over. And you also allow the enterprise to come then pick and choose the slices. That's just northbound. We were thinking that we probably want to go east-west as well, given that there are devices communication coming up and all that. So we're going to contribute that, by the way, all to Acrano. This is not something we want to hold on. We want the ecosystem to pick it up and develop and perfect on it. But if you look at that, and what does that really mean to the enterprise? So maybe enterprise can actually place a web scale order to say, I want a slice for my connected car or the connected factories from Telecom with this SLA and so on. And ultimately, Ericsson putting that together because you have the network know-how. So I don't think it's not dire. It's not like means we all gonna disappear from face of the earth. I think we will thrive on it if we play this game right.
Yeah, I just had to pick up on your point saying that NFV was wrong, or you said it, or something like that. But I think what I'm understanding from what you're saying is that NFV conceived as it was for different markets, the concept that it can be simply plug and play applied to telco is a complicated one, and there are bits. It's still undergoing. So there are areas where it can be. There are other areas where it might need adaptation because of the specific demands. But the reality, if you flip it completely and go from the operator side, and all the network operations guys, etc., who are complete hardware junkies, who never believed in NFV per se, they do believe in 5G. But when they realize 5G is completely based on virtualization, they say, well, maybe we should start actually having a look at that. So while there are areas where you will need the hardware acceleration, the fact is everybody in the networks world is seriously now considering that this is the future. So NFV having 5G is actually driving the uptake of NFV in operators.